Welcome to our parish's video series on the Liturgies of Holy Week and the Sacred Triduum. The word Triduum is a Latin word which means 3 days. Ever since I was a little kid, I was fascinated by the liturgies of Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and Holy Saturday. They were so different from the usual masses I would go to. In high school, the priest at our parish began to give myself and another friend, now Father Scott McHugh, responsibility for the planning and directing of the Triduum liturgies. He would even grade us at the end of each. I seem to remember that we never got much higher than a B+. But looking back, I think he did that just to make sure that we would always do our best and give our best to God. The liturgies of the Sacred Triduum offer us a glimpse at our identity as followers of Jesus, as Catholic Christians. They are, in the very best sense of the word, the core of who we are. Many of the rituals that are contained in these liturgies are not seen by many people, but only by those who choose to come and participate in our worship. The reality is this: the 3 liturgies of the Sacred Triduum are actually one liturgy, not 3 separate ones. We begin on Holy Thursday, as we begin any other Mass, with the sign of the cross. But unlike any other Mass, the liturgy has no dismissal, no ending, until Holy Saturday night. It is as if we are all united in prayer over the 3 days, and in fact, that is the Church's expectation. In this video, I will be joined by some of our confirmation candidates, who will demonstrate and explain the important parts of each liturgy of the Sacred Triduum.
On Holy Thursday, we celebrate the Mass of the Lord's Supper. Usually taking place in the evening, this Mass reminds us of 3 important events that took place the night before Jesus died: the institution of the Eucharist, the institution of the priesthood, and Jesus' example to serve others.
The first reading of the Mass of the Lord's Supper is taken from the book of Exodus, and it gives the instructions for the great Jewish feast of Passover. It was during the Passover meal that Jesus did what he was going to do. The second reading of the Mass, taken from St. Paul's letter to the Corinthians, recalls Jesus' actions in giving the bread as his body and the wine as his blood. We are also reminded that what Jesus did in giving us the Eucharist was to be remembered and carried out forever.
In the Gospel of Holy Thursday night, we hear of Jesus washing his apostles' feet. This action was supposed to be carried out by the servant of the home. But at the Last Supper, Jesus takes on the role of the servant. After washing his apostles' feet, Jesus tells them to serve as I have done for you. At churches like ours all around the world, the priest will wash the feet of some of his parishioners. This is a powerful symbol for many who witness it, and it could be a humbling moment for those who take part in it. The symbolism of this action reminds us all to serve as Jesus served, to think only of others and not to make oneself a priority.
The Mass of Holy Thursday does not end like any other Mass. Rather, a procession is with the Blessed Sacraments around the church is held. The Blessed Sacrament that is carried in procession will be used for the distribution of Holy Communion on Good Friday. The procession ends in a special place called the repository. This is usually a separate tabernacle from the tabernacle that is always used. The procession symbolizes Jesus' walk with his apostles from the upper room where the Last Supper was held to the Garden of Gethsemane, where he would be arrested.
Good Friday is the most important day of the entire year for Christians. On this day, we remember Jesus' death. That may raise the question then, why is this Friday called good? We know that the answer to be Jesus' death opened the gates of heaven, which had been closed after the original sin of Adam and Eve. Without the death of Jesus on the cross, we would not be able to achieve heaven. There is a fundamental truth of faith. There can be no Easter Sunday without Good Friday. There can be no empty tomb without the cross. There can be no heaven without sacrifice.
If we want to share in glory of heaven, we will suffer in this life. Good Friday helps us in a special way to remember the Lord's suffering, his passion and death.
Good Friday is the only day of the year on which the Church does not celebrate Mass. The Good Friday liturgy, known as Celebration of the Passion of the Lord, takes place in the afternoon, usually at 3 p.m., which is the time that Jesus died on the cross. The liturgy begins in silence. The priest prostrates himself in front of the altar and people kneel. These actions are a sign of humility, in the presence of God and our total dependence on God's will.
The Gospel on Good Friday is replaced by the reading of the Passion according to St. John. Christian tradition tells us that St. John was most likely the only apostle to be an eyewitness to the events of Good Friday after all the other apostles had abandoned our Lord.
The highlight of the Good Friday liturgy is the adoration of the cross. The cross is carried into the church and acclamations are sung. The people are invited to venerate the cross with a kiss or touch. Even though there is no Mass on Good Friday, Holy Communion is distributed as a part of the liturgy. The Eucharist we received today was consecrated at the Mass of the Lord's Supper on Holy Thursday and kept in the repository. Like on Holy Thursday, we leave the church in silence on Good Friday, remembering what Jesus has done for us.
On Holy Saturday, the Church continues to wait and watch in silent prayer until the announcement of Christ's resurrection. Of all the vigils in the Church, the Easter Vigil is the greatest of all, sometimes referred to as the mother of all vigils. The Church is very clear that the Easter Vigil may not begin until the night, 45 minutes after sundown to be exact. Those who participate in the Easter Vigil come to understand that the focus of the liturgy is on newness and especially new life. The first part of the Vigil begins with the blessing of a fire. In the Gospels, Christ identifies as the light of the world. The flame of the new fire reinforces this image. The new Easter candle is prepared and blessed. This pillar of fire is then carried into a darkened church. As it makes its way up the aisle, the light is passed to everyone else who holds smaller candles. In the light of these candles, the Easter proclamation, or Exultet, is chanted, announcing Jesus' resurrection from the dead.
There are 9 readings assigned to the Easter Vigil, 7 from the Old Testament, 1 from St. Paul's Epistle and the Gospel. These readings trace the history of salvation for Christians, beginning with the creation of the world, the escape from slavery of the Jews in Egypt through the prophets, and reaching its high point in the resurrection. After the homily, the Church blesses the new Easter water, another symbol of newness and life, and celebrates the initiation sacraments for those who are being baptized and confirmed through the RCIA process. After the celebration of the liturgy of the Eucharist, only then do we hear the words of dismissal that ends the Mass.
To borrow a phrase that we may use often enough, the Triduum is really the greatest show on earth. It is history replayed in front of our very eyes. I sincerely hope that you will participate in all of the Triduum liturgies wherever you may be. Remember that our celebration of Easter is incomplete without our celebration of the Sacred Triduum. God bless you.